We are live. I'm your host, Neil D'Souza of the Leadership to Wealth podcast, and you're joining us here for Magic Mondays. And of course, my co-host, always the illustrious Jason Vaz in the house.
Hello, everybody. We are excited to have you here. Thanks for tuning in.
Great to have you with us again, Jason. And of course, we've got none other than Marlon. Yeah, man.
What's up, everyone? What's up? Hope you all had a good Father's Day for those celebrating over the weekend. Awesome weather.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you. I did get to enjoy that. And for those of you out there, hope you got some good time there. I got an omelet made for me this weekend yesterday. So
fantastic.
that was great. But what was even better was they let me sleep in and I ended up eating it when it was cold. So rather than waking me up to eat this ready-made omelet, so I enjoyed the sleep in a lot more.
You put a price on rest, though. Did you really put a price on rest? I feel like it's a priceless gift you got there.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't even know. We once you have 4 kids, you don't really think about rest because you just know you're going to die sooner because you don't get enough sleep. So, but for all the fathers out there, I hope that you guys had a great Father's Day yesterday. And boys, we've got some interesting stuff happening. I want to start with the interesting hot button topic because we always love jumping on this one. So, Bitcoin. Now, obviously, we love to talk about cryptocurrency, but this time we're going to talk about cryptocurrency mining, specifically Bitcoin mining, and China talking about banning it completely. And of course, what that's done to the market. So anyone got some thoughts on China banning Bitcoin mining?
Well, I'll just jump right into it. We had this discussion in our episode about Bitcoin and how it fits in real estate. And one of the biggest things that we discussed was that 75% of Bitcoin mining was at that time being done in China. So the fact that they're pulling back, it seems like who's going to process these transactions? It's definitely made things a little foggy. I think the future of Bitcoin specifically is a little foggy. I'm not going to say it's going to go belly up, but I don't think anyone can see that far in the future. There's definitely a demand there that has now been eliminated.
And any thoughts there, Marlon?
Like I said, I don't really follow too much of the blockchain and the Bitcoin and stuff, but just knowing China and the way they do things, this could just be a way for them to put pressure on the players in the game and have them have a piece in the market, I think, and bring in some regulation. I think it's more about that as usual. It's more of a political play with those guys usually.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that I think is important to note is that last year at this time, it was down around, Bitcoin was at about $6,000 US roughly. And now it's, that's 500% return if you bought last year. Now, if you bought at the height of the market, which I believe was over 60,000 US, then, you've taken a 50% haircut. But for most people in there, they've ridden the wave up over the last year, and they've got a 500% return. So that's, of course, if they actually pull out any of their money and sell the Bitcoin and go from there. But that's a whole nother discussion that we won't even get into. So Bitcoin mining about to be banned in China. Now, here's probably back home, this is more exciting for all of us, is that the Canadian government is now going to be lifting restrictions for Canadian travelers if you've already had the vaccine. Jason, you're clearly excited about that. You won't have to quarantine.
Super, super excited. I've got plenty of friends that have just been itching to jump on a plane and just get out of here. We've been in lockdown here in Ontario for so long that if anyone deserves it, it's us. The news is if you got your 2 doses, you can head out, you can come back. You don't have to do the mandatory quarantine. I think it was something crazy like $2,000 a night or something like that at these quarantine centers. Definitely breaking the bank if you did want to move. Guys, that's a really exciting news. We can kind of get some tourism going. I'm not too sure how much that fits in for Americans coming here, but we know so far that us going out and coming back, we can do so without any restrictions. So good news all around there.
Yeah, absolutely. Marlon?
Amazing news, amazing news. A little tidbit I found out the other day, actually. So as some of you may or may not know, I had COVID back in the beginning of May. So, I'll be looking at some travel options. Obviously, some places will let you come down there. The good news is on the way back from your trip, apparently, if you've tested positive for COVID, there is a 90-day grace period where when you come back, you don't have to do the test at the airport and you do not have to quarantine at the hotel. You get to quarantine at your house. So if anyone's out there that's looking to travel, that's good news. If you've had COVID, you got 90 days to get it all together before the infamous vaccine passport, which, by the way, got shut down in Israel by the courts there as a breach of rights. So I'm not sure how that's going to go down here, but that's another topic. Yeah.
That's hilarious. The benefits of getting COVID. Well, here's the thing. In terms of passports, technically, we already have vaccination passports. I know that a lot of them are making it sound like as if it's something really crazy, but anyone that has kids in school knows that every year you got to make sure that your kid has the vaccines and they literally used to have these little packets in the card in a plastic pouch that you could carry with you to show that you had the vaccines. But now you get a letter from your doctor and you return it to the school. So, for most people, if they remember back, you have that anyways. The only difference is now you're going to have to carry that stuff with you when you're going through different ports and through airports and that. So I don't know that it's really that big a difference. Apparently, that's not the case in Israel.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. All right. So now let's get into it, and we're gonna skip over for buyers and sellers today because the majority of our topic is going to cover that, in which we're going to be talking about how to buy in a hot housing market and how to navigate, negotiate through that. And that's, our resident wizard in Ontario real estate realtor, Jason Vaz, is going to really help us on that. But what we're going to talk about right now, we're going to hand it over to Marlon's Mortgage Minute. Marlon.
Yeah, so just a quick little update in the mortgage market. Finally, some lenders have now come out with some specials for frontline workers. Doctors, nurses, firemen. I'm not sure what took so long, but if you guys are frontline workers or you know anyone that's a frontline worker that's looking for a home, now's a great time. The rates are slightly bought down, and they're also offering $1,000 cash back. So I think it's about time that those people get recognized, and it's awesome to see the mortgage lenders step up.
Wow, that's amazing. That really is. Sometimes things like that renew your faith in mankind. Repay some of these people that have been on the front lines and have been putting themselves and their families at risk. And my wife's a registered nurse, so I know the hardships that she's had with being in the hospitals. And so for all the first responders, all of you out there, thank you so much for all that you've been doing through this time. And get a hold of Marlon Yee, and he'll obviously be able to help you with that financing. So he's the man. Yee man.
That's the guy right there.
Now today for investment clues. All right, what I want to talk about today is something that Rich Dad Poor Dad writer Robert Kiyosaki actually put in his book called Cash Flow Quadrants. He's got it in a number of books. I'm actually going to make a recommendation for you here today. And if the book is Increase Your Financial IQ, Get Smarter with Your Money. And as you can see, it's by Robert Kiyosaki. And one of the things that he talks about is this thing called the cash flow quadrant. If you're wondering, here we go. We've got, our man behind the scenes, Wyatt Hammond. He's got it all together. So great job, Wyatt. So here we go. We've got the different quadrants that E, S, B, and I. The E for employee, S for self-employed or small business, B for business owner, and I for investor. Now, what's important about these different quadrants? It really helps you when you're talking about making money or investing. You want to know where your money is, where it's going to be at best use, and what tax advantages you have. Because one of the things that you'll notice is on the left-hand side are employees and self-employed. Well, these are the areas that are most heavily taxed versus on the right-hand side, business owners and investors have the most tax advantages if you're investing in the right areas. And one of the other things that you'll see is on the left-hand side, employees and self-employed is really about you're going to be doing the majority of the work. If you stop working, you stop getting paid in many cases. Now, who falls into that category? Of course, most people with jobs are going to be in the employee category. And as we mentioned, most heavily taxed. The self-employed, this is where we have doctors, lawyers, and the like. That's where you've got mortgage agents and even realtors. And if we stop working, then what happens? You of course are not generating income. So the first key is to know where your money's coming from, and because when you get onto the other side, business owner or investor, of course, that's where your money is working for you. And if you stop working, then your money's still hard at work for you. So that's what we'll talk about today. If you want to, feel free to go out and get Increase Your Financial IQ by Robert Kiyosaki. All right. Now let's get into it. We're going to talk today about how do you buy in a hot housing market. And for everyone that's out there, right now, if you're trying to buy in this market or you're considering buying in this market, that there are a lot of nuances, and you're probably just asking yourself, where do I start? How do I get into it? Now, if you already own a home, you've got some ideas for how to do that. And you've got an idea, at least you've got a home, and you know that, hey, if worst case scenario, I can stay here. But how do we negotiate? How do we navigate, rather, through all of these complexities? Now, first of all, what are the complexities? And let's turn it over to our man, Jason Vaz, to kind of help us understand a little bit about what this is like.
All right, everybody. So first and foremost, let's for those of you who are watching who may be first-time home buyers, or maybe you're looking to sell and purchase a home, so you're a little bit rusty because you haven't done this in about 10 years. Let's talk about what a normal market is. All right. So the normal market, you'll be shopping around. Your realtor will show you a couple of homes. You'll find one that kind of suits your needs. Maybe you'll do a revisit. Maybe you'll bring your parents to see it, sleep on it, make a decision. Then you'll come up with an offer. Usually, say a house is listed at $500,000. You'll say, let's start at $480,000. Let's go do a little back and forth. Ultimately, we land at $495,000, and then you'll slap on two main conditions. There could be other conditions, but these are the most frequent ones. So this is your condition on financing for about 3 to 5 days, and your condition on inspection. Now, what happens in this time is you have someone like Marlon Yee will double check the deal, check the house, make sure, the T's are crossed, the I's are dotted, make sure the home appraises at the price that it should. And then he'll give you the green light saying, yep, your finances are in order. Also, in that time, you would get a professional home inspector to schedule a 3-hour inspection. At this time, they're looking for material latent defects. So they're looking for structural issues, plumbing issues. Is there any moisture coming in from the walls? Is the roof up to standards? Things of that nature. Again, for most of you guys, this is the biggest purchase you will ever make. So again, I think it's extremely important for you to get this information, to get an inspection done on the home that you're going to buy. Now again, this is a normal market. Let's bring it into a hot market. That's where things change.
Okay, wait, hang on, Jason. Let me pause you for 1 second. So that's what a normal market looks like. How long has it been since we've seen a normal market? Because it feels like this has been going on forever. Of course, we had COVID last year, but
to tell you the truth, the market in Ontario has leaned in the seller's favor for the better part of a decade. Okay.
Wow.
That
Okay.
being said, those conditions I mentioned didn't go off the table.
Right.
As late as this fall, I was still getting conditions on properties. Last year, I was getting conditions on properties.
Right.
It
Right.
wasn't as crazy. Now, what we're talking about now is a super hot market. Okay.
Got it.
The
Got it.
super hot markets don't happen all the time. Just because you're seeing sold over asking, or homes are selling quickly. Yes, again, that's a seller's market. But when we're in a super hot seller's market like we are in right now, it's a little bit of a different story. So I'm going to explain what happens in these scenarios, and this is how you can identify it. All right.
All right. Love it.
One of the things you'll notice, homes look like they're priced ridiculously low. So where you think a home should go for, say, $650, you'll see it listed for $599. Now, this is a clear indicator of a super hot market. The reason this is happening is I call it the slingshot strategy. Now, what this is I'm pulling down the price really, really low. It's meant to be up here, but when I let go, it's probably going to shoot a little bit higher. All right. So try to remember that. Think about a slingshot, and that's what they're doing there. They're pricing it down at the $499 mark, when really it should sell for $650. And by doing so, you create a bidding war. This is when you've got multiple people coming in and looking at a property, and they all want to get in. Everybody is throwing in their bids, and the highest bidder gets it. Now,
So basically, you're looking for a bit of that buying frenzy to create that buying frenzy, kind of like dropping a bleeding fish in amongst sharks. You want to okay.
Starving sharks.
Starving. Right. Right. So you're looking for them to bid up the price to above what you were hoping that it would go for. That's a strategy.
And that is a strategy. Now, what happens is when it's a super hot market, multiple offers in a normal market is like 2 to 3 offers. The price does usually go above asking or at asking. However, in these markets, we're seeing 10, 15, 20. Saw one at the start of the year, 49 offers on the property.
Wow.
In situations like this, the conditions go out the window. All right. You are coming in what we call firm. All right. That means there's no condition on finance. There's no condition on inspection. You got your deposit ready with the offer. As in, if that seller decides to pick you, bang, it's sold. You are 100% obligated to purchase this home. There is no exit strategy.
Hang on, you can't just go over that one. How in the world are you just going to waive your financing? How are you going to
We'll get into that. We'll get into that. So just explain to them what's going on. So this is the thing. In a hot market, if you think you can get a condition on financing, and if you are being advised to put a condition on financing, fire the person that's advising you that, because they have no idea what's going on right now. And I'll be honest, in this year, I've probably ran into about half a dozen cases where someone at the bank has said, "Oh, just make sure you put a condition on financing." That tells me they've not done a single deal in 2021, because that has not been heard of for the last 6 months. Now, guys, I know this sounds like we're throwing caution to the wind. However, there is a responsible way to do it. All right. Neil was trying to jump in on that, so I'll quickly give you 2 main things. Now, unfortunately, in regards to inspection, there's a bit of a risk being taken now. There's no real solution that I can offer you. I myself, as a realtor, I've done hundreds of deals over the last decade, so there's certain indicators I can look for during the showing. However, it's never going to be as good as an inspection. So I always tell my clients, keep a little bit of a buffer of cash so that if anything comes up, you know that you can take care of it. However, on the financing side of things, there's a lot you can do. All right. For starters, make sure you're pre-qualified. All right. This is something that you should be doing even in a buyer's market. Make sure you have your ducks in a row when it comes to your funding. I don't want to see you guys doing a mortgage calculator online and telling me, your realtor, "Oh, we're approved for $700,000," when we really haven't, lifted up your skirt and seen what the heck's under there. So number one is 100% get pre-qualified.
Wait. Can I pause there and ask Marlon a question on this?
Well, I was going to hand it off to Marlon because
Oh,
Marlon's
okay,
actually
great. Because we got to ask the question: the difference between pre-approved, getting a pre-approval, and getting pre-qualified.
Yeah, I mean, these terms have been around for quite some time. Unfortunately, everyone has them a little bit twisted, with products like what some of the banks saying, get a 60-second pre-approval. I'm telling you right now, that's not a good way about finding out if you can afford a home, right?
It's bullshit.
Yeah, it's just a quick way to get you in the door and whatever it is, right? So to make things matters clear, what you actually want is a pre-qualification, not a pre-approval. A pre-approval is, you walk into your local branch, they interview you, they put in some numbers into a calculator of their own, and they tell you this is what you're pre-approved. That's more like what they call a rate lock. You're just locking in a rate. Whether you're actually going to qualify for that when the time comes is a different story. What you want to do is a pre-qualification. So a pre-qualification means, one, we're going to do a credit check. Two, we're going to ask for your income documentation. We want to examine your income very carefully, whether you're paid hourly, salary, commission, all those stuff matters. Just because you think you make this doesn't mean the lender will accept it. They have different regulations for different types of income. The other thing we want to look at is your down payment. Down payment is a huge deal killer in mortgages, especially if the money cannot be proven. And when I say proven, there's what they're called anti-money laundering laws in Canada. And we need to see the money for the last 90 days, and any large transactions need to be explainable. If they are not explainable or not from a proper source, you cannot use these monies for down payment. Okay. The other thing you also
what qualifies under that, Marlon? What qualifies under, I don't know, not provable?
Not provable. Okay, so let's say you have an account for the last 90 days and there's a $15,000 cash deposit. The bank will say anything over 10,000, all the lenders question. Even below 10,000, some of them are starting to question. Yeah. But they'll ask, where are these funds from? If you say it's from cash, not acceptable. If it came from selling stocks in your mutual fund account, or selling mutual funds in your TFSA account, and you transfer them into your account, that's fine. You just show your mutual fund history for 90 days. So they want to see that the source of money is your money, number one, and that is verifiable. Okay. Obviously, you can get.
So if you're a drug dealer, you can't show that money, is what you're saying.
No, you can't show that money. Not legally.
All the drug dealers out there, sorry, but you're not going to be able to qualify for a mortgage.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, it all depends, right? The key part here is that the money needs to be in the account for 90 days.
Got it.
I mean, there's ways around that. I'm not, endorsing that, but the key period here is you're looking at a 90-day period. And, the transactions have to look clean and the money has to be verifiable within those 90 days. And, obviously avoid large transactions, EMTs, all that stuff. Some people, I've had clients that, sold their handbag and shoe collection, and they have a whole bunch of random $1,500, $2,000, $5,000 EMTs. The lenders ask, what is all this stuff? I couldn't exactly, it was purses and stuff like that, they got it. So, I guess based on the person's profession, they understand they like to splurge, and they understand that they make good money, and they just kind of sold, some of their items for a down payment. Just a quick thing, pre-qualification, especially if you're buying with less than 20%, you definitely want to do this properly, because when you are purchasing with less than 20%, you are actually being looked at twice, once by the lender and another time by the insurer. So you got to make sure that, your income is spot on, your down payment spot on, because the lender can say yes, but if the insurer says no, you're not getting a mortgage. And you don't want to put that at risk with an online calculator or just a 60-second interview. Okay.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So
jump in and touch on one thing here. In addition to getting your pre-qualification, you need to understand this. And Marlon and me actually just worked on a deal last week in this exact situation, where we had a buyer. They were relocating, completely different city, completely out of the way. They had a very short amount of time. They had a week to find a place, buy it, and close, firm up. And we were able to be extremely successful on this exact principle of making sure they were pre-qualified. Now, this isn't just running the numbers to see what the number, how much you can get approved for. This is looking at the actual home before the offer's put in, running the taxes, running the purchase price, estimating how much the hydro is, and then applying that to their current debts that they're currently carrying. And these are things that, unfortunately, the average person just doesn't think about. and you need to have the right people in your corner. So that's the other thing of how to navigate through this hot market is make sure you have the right people working with you. You cannot. It's just you've already got the chip stacked against you in this market as a buyer. Having the wrong people in your camp, you're pretty much making it impossible.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, obviously, I'm like Marlon. I'm also an agent, but one of the things that I would say is I'd hate to have to be a buyer in this market, and because there is so much competition, and I'd rather go to, as a good friend of mine, Gary Hibbert, says, you got to go for the blue water, not the red water, because all the blood's in the red water. And so the blue water, I'm talking to people left, right, and center. Income properties are the way to go because there's so much opportunity out there where we are able to still negotiate. But you're not going to be able to live in the property, right? You're buying it to make an income, and so it's a very different market. But that's definitely the way that I would go. And I suppose it probably has something to do with my cultural background. We just need a deal. It's in the blood. We need a deal. Can't do it. Have to get a deal. I need a deal. Okay. Anyway, sorry. All right. Oh, just slapped into that for a second. All right. So, okay, Jason. So now you're telling us that we, in a hot market, you want to be pre-qualified rather than being pre-approved so that you can get in there and you can, and you've got this wiggle room, you know what you've got. Is there anything else that we need to kind of think about when it comes to buying in this hot market?
One of the biggest things I'll say, and Marlon will attest to this, say you're house hunting, you're in a multiple offer, you win, celebration time, pop champagne, because honestly you should. If you win a house in this market, you should be celebrating immensely because it is a special moment. Buying a home is a special moment. Winning in multiple offers where there was 13 people you had to beat off before you win, like it's a big moment. This is what you don't do after. Don't buy a new car. Please. How many times have we seen people, they buy a home, it's closing in 90 days, and they're 60 days later, they go and they buy themselves a brand new Ram truck.
Yeah.
You are going to throw your ratios off completely, and I bet you any money, you will not get approved at the end. No matter what we did at the beginning, throw it out the window. It's gone. Now, Neil, in those situations where somebody has royally effed themselves on their ratios, where do you fit in this equation? And what do you ultimately have to do?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great point. And we are seeing this where people are going in, and because they're waiving all of their conditions, now I'm getting calls, obviously specializing in private lending. I'm getting calls that, hey, we need to finance this. We can't go through traditional lending means. And so as a result, they're looking for private money, which you're going to, just add thousands of dollars onto it that you're going to have to pay out of pocket to do that. Because the reality is that when you get into private lending, and here's what it's for, the banks are not able to take that risk. They're legally not allowed to take that risk. There's regulations on it because, in fact, the banks are actually borrowing the money themselves. Whereas when you use private money, it's from private individuals. It's actually somebody's money that can be lost. And so as a result, you're going to pay a higher interest rate. You're going to pay fees, lender fees. You're going to pay more legal costs. And to be able to add it up to be able to close on that property. And if you don't have those reserves, then you could be in a situation where you're going to get sued. You're going to get taken to court. And that's just a whole nother world of problems. Guys, this is such a hot topic in a hot housing market. And believe it or not, we have already reached our time. 30 seconds. Anything else you want to throw out there, Marlon?
One last thing, just want to touch on the whole relationship Jason was talking about. You want a really good team in this market. I mean, most realtors have a go-to mortgage guy, but let's say, you decide to use someone else you got referred to. The very minimum thing you can do is at least introduce them. Let them know who each other is, put them in communication with each other, and most importantly, your lawyer. Don't forget your lawyer. You want to circle all three of them together. Like I said, preferentially work with the same team, but if not, at least introduce them together and make it clear that if there's any problems that you want them to talk to each other and figure it out. This makes a huge difference in the buying process. Massive.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll tell you, interesting on that is I got a call 2 weeks ago where a buyer's deal was falling through. Their financing was falling through. I got the call on the Tuesday morning that they needed to close on Friday. We had 4 days to close on that deal. And so you want to have a team in place that can deal with the worst case scenario. Jason, tell me, 30 seconds.
The future belongs to those who prepare. So in my opinion, like, get your ducks in a row ahead of time. You don't want to put the horse above the carriage, especially in a hot market like this. Like, guys, we're not talking about, $5,000-$6,000 over asking. We're talking about like hundreds of thousands over the asking is what homes are selling for. And when you're coming in there with a naked offer with no conditions, nothing to protect yourself, make sure you've done your preparation. And the easiest way to do so is work with professionals, work with people that are doing this every day, that know the ins and outs, that can advise you properly. That's the best I can give you guys. It's this market is not lightening up anytime soon. If you can afford to enter into it, 100% jump in. All right, guys. Take care.
Well, some like it hot, some like it when the heat is on. If you know that song. That's Magic Mondays. Thanks, guys. We'll see you again next week.
See you guys.
See you, everyone.